Okay. Welcome to K.I.S.S Recovery 101. Bridge Sky here. And I'm happy to say this is the special first edition monthly coming here monthly co-host. I got a co-host. You want to introduce yourself, co-host?
Good evening, Angie in recovery.
And what? This is girl show time. Here we go. Okay, so I even got a background, which I thought would be cool. I'm still not ready for any what you call it. I'm not ready for oh, it's not gonna show. Okay, never mind. We don't need to. I'm not ready for any video, but we're definitely going to be more doing more things. I'm going to be doing more things, putting myself there more. But tonight is the first time, so bear with us. Oh, we already got a comment. Facebook user, hello from Wyoming. Oh, it's Martin. Hello, Martin. Martin. Okay, so I actually got two clips. So if you listen to K.I.S.S Recovery 101 weekly, this is going to be very similar. However, there's a couple key differences. These monthly, with my co-host here, these monthly hours are going to be focused on I would say relationships, but I like the word risky because they are risky if you're not prepared for a lot of things, self-awareness things I didn't realize within myself, but they're risky in the sense of, a lot of relationships I held on to for so long was because I thought I had to. And tonight we're definitely you came up with what's the title of this episode?
I see risky relationships and banging boundaries.
Banging boundaries. Oh my God, pun intended, right? Okay,
Hi,
well,
Ted.
oh, shout out. Yes, feel free to read the
Hi,
comments.
Martin.
So it's a live show for a reason because I want people to interact, comment, questions, insights, your opinions. I welcome all those things. We welcome all those things because that's even better to really, we're in our little studio here. And it's nice to get that outside perspective and can go back and forth. It's going to be what I would like to call a dialogue. There's no debates here. Constructive conversations, okay? Hello from the Rise Up Hour, Mahana. Shout out. Okay. So, Ange, why don't you go ahead and talk about what is banging boundaries? What made you come up with that as our first kickoff episode?
Well, definitely I'm going through some of these things in my life, and I can use all the skills that I've learned in recovery. Boundaries is what is going to protect me and hopefully offer more to the other person that I would be engaging in. Interacting with. There we go.
Okay. So normally we have, the first 20 minutes or so is just our conversation, which that's going to, definitely hold true. Play a clip or two here. And then usually I do what's called hot seat segment. That is going away because guess what? We're going to probably need this segment right after what we discussed tonight, especially. It's called Pro Tips. Ding! Pro Tips that, if anything, you hear tonight, you're like, this is a problem for me, or this is something I do, or this is something I see somebody I love doing all the time. Now what? Guess what? There's some pro tips that I personally a couple of them align with and have used and work for me. And that these are just from me, by the way. They're from actually knowledgeable books I've read, traders and facilitators, and just research that I've done. So I call them pro tips, not necessarily that I'm the pro, but they came from professionals. Edge. Okay.
And we were both on the same page. She's like, well, what are you going to be focusing on? And I shot her over my ideas. And yes, we all need these things.
And what's wonderful is, especially when I said, because relationships can come in any capacity, right? So, it could be with your parents, it could be with your children, it could be with siblings, it could be with just everyday in recovery, your friends, those relationships. But the go-to, and this is why it's great to start tonight with, is those relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, maybe husband, wife, and maybe that sex relationships. Let's just go right into it. Let's talk about sex.
Baby.
I knew it. Let's talk about you and me. So I'm not the wisest, because right now where I've seen, it's been a year and a half since I've really even wanted to. But guess what, Ange? I'm in the best relationship ever. I'm dating myself. I've been dating myself. So it's a beautiful thing. Now
I can learn from you from that.
We're gonna learn from each other, okay? Because I need reminders. Because I'm not gonna lie, I am starting to try to date again, maybe, and I was just rejected again today.
Damn.
It hurt so bad. He blew me
You
off.
got your own back, though.
But yes, but you know what? Now, see, before
And front.
Yeah. I would have taken that personally. What am I doing wrong? Why doesn't he want me? And now I'm like, this is definitely a him problem, right? It's nothing. I know that I put it all out there. I am always myself, and it's his loss. It still sucks though. It still feels
being
gross.
vulnerable is a scary thing, and then we definitely can't control the outcome, and we're just going to keep being us and putting ourselves out there and meeting people where we can.
Yes. Okay. So, Ange, we've been conversing back and forth this past week, and you actually sent me a YouTube video today. And now I did not listen to the whole podcast all the way through. Okay. So keep that in mind. And there was just a couple things that right away caught my attention. The dude was calling out the ladies. Ted, was it Ted? Ted called out the ladies. So guess what, ladies? We're here. We're gonna respond. It was perfect timing. It's more in light, light. I want to make sure it's light and humorous. It's banter. It's mostly to engage, but also it's nice to have. Yeah, it's nice to have male and female perspectives. But let's just go into what I posted. So, episode 1, banging boundaries, the unwritten, in quotations, relationship rules, okay, that are actually toxic. And how do these guidelines apply to people that have multiples of recovery, right? Okay, so why is it when you find new connections with other people, or let's just say another person that's already on that great recovery path, they have a lot of sobriety time, it still blows up in your face, and you're rejected within the recovery community, and you question how old behaviors creep up into these new relationships. How did this, for me, is like, how does this keep happening? So we're going to definitely address those things. And I think it's beautiful because we're both in different like timelines right now. Okay. Because I am a divorced person, but my divorce was official 2015. So it's been a minute, right? So I definitely had a lot of time for experiences. And now, Ange, you want to just kind of maybe tell the listeners where you're at, would you say, in your relationship or your timeline here, for because you have multiple years of recovery, correct?
Yeah, I am in exploration stage, trying to find out who I am, what I want, what I need, and dating myself first would be number one. I never did that when I was married for 18 or 17 years, excuse me, and we're coming up on our next final court date here of going to be a divorced single mom of 3, and so yeah, it's scary because we're sharing custody and my abilities are being challenged. So I really want to step up and be there for myself and be there for my kids. And I'm excited for our opportunities.
Yes, and I'm excited to. I shared a clip with you. We're gonna play, which I feel like applies to so many people. But Ange, honestly, I didn't really find who I was or what things I actually love or enjoy just as me until I was 39 years old. So I love this clip though. It says you could be 30, 40, 50. It's okay. So I came late in the game, but really, anytime is it's just important to understand that. Okay, so in fun, this clip is called "Relationships and Recovery with the Fellas." Okay, not hating on the fellas, but they called us out, the ladies. So let's just give it back. So here's where this came from, and we're gonna go off of that. You ready? Okay, here we go.
Stuff thing about it is that that's the problem. like, that is the problem.
We've had this talk. It
Being
is
men, we can't even like question it. It's
no,
like
because we're assuming.
hey man, you got to be tough. You got to handle this. You got it all figured out.
Don't assume. Don't assume.
So we can't even pose the question to ourselves or other guys. Like, hey, because we're all just like, I don't know what their problem. What is their problem? Yes, I'm talking about you, ladies. What is your problem?
So it's gotta be a two-way street, though.
It does.
It's gotta be a two-way street. It can't just be the ladies' problem and then
Right.
we just go and we come in here and in the studio and fix the problem. So it's a two-way street, right? But why do relationships not last as long as they used to last? Let's say with our grandparents. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a serious issue. And I think that I see my grandparents and I think that they see themselves as best friends. And I think that is the coolest thing that I have ever seen as far as relationships go.
Well, and now you have, and now when you see each other as best friends, like that's what it is. You're just friends.
Yeah.
You can't be in a relationship with somebody that's your friend.
I know.
Like
it's kind of like saying, okay, we're broke up, but I still want to be friends.
Right.
How does that ever even work? I've
Yeah.
tried it myself and it does not work.
Yeah, me too.
It doesn't work.
It don't work, man. Because so men, what I've learned recently is that men, their intimacy is through, like through sex. You know what I mean? That's how men express their intimacy. You know what I mean? Because we can't do it on any other level. Through society and culture's taught us we can't express our intimacy, in public or like to a woman. We can't be intimate or vulnerable. And
We
so
can't be vulnerable.
right,
We can't feel that.
we can't do it.
vulnerability.
So sex is like the only time that we're able to be vulnerable and intimate. It's the only time.
Mhm.
Like, and so I think that's kind of a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And so that's where we lose. That's why we can't. I don't know, man. This whole subject is really
It's
boggling.
it's a boggling subject. Would you think so?
Yeah,
What do you think about it?
I agree. I don't know what to say.
Joe, I
about
love you,
this.
Joe.
I don't know what
That's
to say
why
about
he's
this.
Joe King.
Yeah.
Always. I'm not.
Quite sure.
I don't know. I'm just taking
Oh,
care of myself.
Joe, what
right
about
now.
your what?
And that's
I
with
love
me
that.
too.
Yes.
I've been taking care of myself and not worrying about other people because that's just where I am these days, and that's where I find my serenity is taking care and digging into my issues, if you will.
Yeah.
Because everybody has them. You can't go walking down the street thinking that the next person or like being judgmental towards the next person. You shouldn't, at least, because you don't know what that person is going through at that exact moment. It could be anything. It could be the loss of a loved one.
Right, dude. Yeah, they literally could have lost
And
their
anybody
mom.
you see on wherever you are at any given moment, we're so vastly different from each other, each one of us, that
All right.
you could run into somebody going through anything.
Okay, I had to let that play. I think his name was Jesse.
Yep.
What a wise person. I love that. Okay, so Edge, just on that part that I played, any insights, any viewpoints you want to point out there?
Just speaking from being married for a long ass time and my ex telling me that he couldn't look at me or touch me without needing sex is like, oh, okay, so what's the problem here? Well, really, it's just going to come down to what can we really put up with, or yeah, I mean, there's compromise, right? But then there's always somebody kind of losing. So are we right with ourselves? Just like Jesse was saying, how am I filling up, and is my soul being taken care of, and am I whole in that area? Because otherwise, yeah, am I going to get rejected? Are they going to get rejected? And then how do we navigate through that? So there's definitely barriers. Yes, men are from Venus or yeah, whatever. But yeah, I love that we can just communicate, and that's going to be one of my pro tips is communication.
Okay, so in all fun, I want to point out. So here's what's hilarious. He's like, "Ladies, what is your problem?" But guess what? They answered the. I don't even know if they realized they answered the question within that clip themselves, because they're saying like, "Well, the only way I feel intimate is by having sex." Well, that's a red flag, a red flag. And unfortunately, I also can put myself back to where I was. Let's just start a decade ago. That's also where I was at. Is I only felt intimate, or now this is me back then, connected through sex. And unfortunately, I spent a long time, you might want to call it sex addiction, but I've been reading a lot and researching a lot, and it's more, I like, it's called love addiction, is really what it is. It's filling that hole in myself. And I think a big thing to go off of, a key point is the reason there's that rule, and I don't think it just applies to newcomers, it really applies to anyone who doesn't feel whole, which is most of us, even normies, let's put it out there. The reason there's that rule to spend a year, which by the way, I'm going to just debunk that very soon here, just being in a relationship with yourself, not being in any relationships really, is to take that time for yourself to get to know yourself. And that rule is because I could never be intimate, really feel connection with anyone else because I wasn't intimate and connected with myself. And so I went from one addiction to sex addiction, right? And what did that do? What did any substance before it do? It made me feel good very temporarily, and immediately brought me right back into my shame and questioning why I did that, and where, like, it was that shame spiral. And so it wasn't until I really understood that, again, I was using sex to numb myself. I was using sex to really not deal with me. That was the problem, me. So I use it as makes me feel good physically, but emotionally, I was more, killing myself. I'm more dead inside anyway. So it was very, very toxic. So definitely got some pro tips, and definitely banging boundaries. So I love these two words. It's called harm reduction. Okay. So you would have talked to me 10 years ago. Actually, I did have wise women say, don't date anyone. Well, what did that make me want to do? Just date all over the place. Don't do this. That made me want to do it. But how I flip that now, I don't ever tell anyone I'm working with, don't do something, or you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. I don't shit all over them, shit all over them, because they need to figure that out for themselves. But I like to propose other options, and and so reducing the harm. Um, so let me just make my point, then we'll get to the comments. But so reducing harm, especially if you're really like, no, I know what I want sex, I want that connection, I want to just get this physical whatever satisfying thing out. How can you do that safely, per se, or at least less harmful? And there's key things that come in, like protection, safety. But one of the best things I like, is having a person that you trust, a dating coach, you could call her, or a friend, just somebody that you trust, that you can go to and say, here's what I'm looking to do. Here's what I want from it. Here's what happened. But you got that person. So you're not doing, I was doing a lot of things by myself. Nobody to this day ever knows about. It was very, very, very bad. And then again, what happened? All that darkness, very, very badness stayed inside me, and it got worse and worse and worse. So having, someone to, whether you take their advice or not, at least you're getting it out. At least you might hear something. Because I know for me, it was a couple seeds here and there. I didn't accept them right away, but later on they made sense. So, Ange, you want to read the comments? I see people are interacting. Thank you.
The point was, Ted says, that we can only feel intimacy through sex because society and the way we grow up. Oh, we have a little reminder here, but yeah, the way we grow up as men teaches us that we can't be intimate in public, and I appreciate that take. I mean, it makes sense that, yes, of course, society plays a role. Facebook, are you kidding me? Like, oh, yeah, Facebook. You know how many people I've been hollering at on Facebook and how many dick pics I've been receiving? Anyways, my point here is that we need to be careful. We need to protect ourselves, and we need to be in a safe zone and have safe people around us who want the best for us. And sadly, a lot of people out there don't. So we really have to be careful. And like I said, communication. Yeah, if we're talking about it, we're going to be about it. And hopefully the other person will receive it. If not, then maybe that's a boundary. Maybe you can't go there. Thank you.
Okay. And Ted, yes, I get your point. The fence is intimacy, but still that's a physical connection of intimacy. And he's right. Like, but I feel like that's changing, and it's definitely changing a lot, especially in recovery, is for males to be able to show that vulnerability. And that's where, like, when you find those men groups, I have Matt, I have Jesse, they talk about it. Those are the guys that I align with and hang out with the most, because they're the ones that will open up and be vulnerable and shed tears and hug, and they're not ashamed to do it. And they'll do it, not even just in those meetings, all over. But they give that example, and that, that thing they have, other guys are like, oh, it is okay to be intimate. Finding those real people, those authentic people that are in that space of recovery. That's why I love the word recovery, because, what bugs me is when guys or anyone says she has daddy issues. Fuck that. Do you know how many dudes I know that have daddy issues themselves? And it's heartbreaking, because I have 4 boys, so I see it. When guys aren't getting that connection they need from their fathers, whoa, that plays a huge role in how they grow up, and how, when they become men, how they treat other people and how they treat themselves. So, sorry, go ahead, Ed.
Well, and any issue that we have, don't we really just want to be seen and accepted for where we're at? Like, yeah, maybe that turns you on. Daddy issues, mommy issues, whatever type of issues. Get your tissues and deal with it.
That rhymed. Well, that's what's so hard is in recovery. I'm not talking about when it's somebody who has recovery and takes advantage of a newcomer. That's totally, we're not even talking about that. I'm talking about when we take when it's 2 people that have already got some good recovery time. And I wouldn't even call it recovery time. Like, maybe you got like some abstinence time, right? Sobriety time from one addiction. And so you get together, you're vulnerable together, in a meeting, you share, you connect, you start hanging out. So right away you're like, "Ooh, I want to get intimate with this person," right? Because for me, once I really like connect with a person's soul, I'll say, like, for me, yeah, that puts down that wall. Like, now I want to be really intimate, and I love that one of your pro tips that you pointed out, Ange, is going to be like that self-awareness, because now I catch myself, I watch myself, I do not want to jump back into where I was before, but it's so physically easy for me to want to do that, and I just know that sets off a lot of things. So oh, Jesse, hey, Jesse, Jesse, shout out Jesse Magnuson. Emotions are hard for men in early recovery. But guess what, Jesse? You're the Jesse I was talking about. I know like 5 Jessies, but he's the one I was talking about. He's someone I like to align and hang out with, because I find it shows so much strength that he is able to not only talk about being vulnerable, he's willing to be vulnerable, especially around other guys. And I've gone to a few meetings with Jesse, and just everything he shares, it's like, ding, pro tip. You look like you want to read or say something, Ange. Go ahead, go for it.
November 11th, in a day at a time. Reflection for the day. What exactly is humility? Does it mean that we are to be submissive, accepting everything that comes our way, no matter how humiliating? Does it mean surrender to ugliness as a destructive way of life? I'm calling myself out here. On the contrary, the basic ingredient of all humility is simply a desire to seek and do God's will. Am I coming to understand that an attitude of true humility confers, dignity and grace on me, strengthening me to take intelligent spiritual action in solving my problems? Today I pray, may I discover that humility is not bowing and scraping or letting people walk all over me, all of which have built in expectations of some sort of personal reward me, like approval or sympathy. And it's like sometimes we don't even know we're doing that, right? So thank God for, like you're saying, awareness, awareness, awareness. Real humility is awareness. Oh, here we go. Of the vast love and unending might of God. It is the perspective that tells me how I, as a human being, relate to that divine power. And we were talking about that earlier too. Like, we have the human nature, that drive, right? And then we have some, our ego. Our ego wants to tell us who we think we are, or what other people says about us defines us. And then it's like our soul will continue to be our home and let us know that we're really taken care of and we're working and growing towards the divine.
Mm-hmm. And so, and I love that. And I always share this when I hear the word humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but just thinking of yourself less. And I don't align. God is not my go-to, but I do have a higher power, right? For mine, it's the universe. Okay, I do believe there's something way greater and bigger than us, but I don't believe that the universe has this set out will that I've got to follow. I believe, for me, just to keep it simple, is I am what I align with is trying to become where I think I've already possibly been, is that better, higher version of myself. So here's what I visualize in my head. So all beautiful, mighty soul of me that existed before existed the universe, right, is looking down on me today where I sit. And she's just like, Bridge, you know what you're doing, right? You know, like that self-will thing, right? You know where you need to get to be up here, right? You know where you need to get to be at this plane, right? Are you making those right decisions? No. So I need, I just look on, reflect on, does my will in my soul, in my heart right now, align with how I see myself being, my best version of myself, where I know I can be, and where I know I came from. And I feel like the universe for me, like I believe in spirit guides, okay, knows what they see our souls. They know what we want. They try to guide us, right? They try, whispering, setting, they know what we want what we want, right? They can see our souls and our spirit. However, human emotions get in the way. We're just humans, right? Defects, all that get in the way, and we're easily get off the path. But like, stuff happens, life on life terms, right? Challenges, barriers, things come up. But I feel like that's the universe, that's our spirit guides, that's higher power, God, directing us back to what we really, at the end of the day, know and need for ourselves. So sex is an easy, like quick nub, like let's just temporary get some satisfaction, but
Then more and more and more.
at the
Get
end,
the next hit.
it's
Sorry.
yes, but it's empty. It's always empty. And so I find that connecting with myself, I've finally been able to truly love myself and in turn value myself. And now, I definitely, even if I get any kind of like, before, if somebody was like, I felt like they were connecting with me, they really listened to me, they really got me. Oh, I'm in love with them. It's silly. But why? Because I didn't really love and connect with myself. So once I figured that piece out, now I don't even seek it anymore. Like, it's kind of a hobby now. Like, I'd like to meet someone that, we connect on the universe level, like want the same things, but I'm not like needing it. So when I'm rejected or they don't call or they don't want to hang out, it's been 2 weeks since I've talked to whoever. I'm like, well, I'm busy too. And it's okay. Do you? And I'll hit you up. You're busy. Okay. I'm not taking it personal, but I don't have these ridiculous expectations, on anybody else, but mostly on myself. I'm happy being single and alone for the rest of my life. Let's say that now.
Well, that's definitely empowering. I see so much inspiration, and I feel like I can do it, right? Like, can we say no? Can we keep it simple? Can we just be and let the other person be and just experience that time together or whatever, right? I don't have to have expectations on it. I don't have to need more. And I really can just reassess and figure out, what can I do for myself?
Okay, so I'm gonna play this clip that so I do have this really great clip that I shared with you. I think you felt that, it touched you too, but it's really positive and it really is the answer. So if you get any kind of, oh, there's our alarm. for the pro tip stuff coming up here. So we're going to go into this clip, and then we're going to go to the pro tips, and then I'm going to share with you this wonderful little, I'm going to read a couple paragraphs. It's called Dating, a Cautionary Tale. All discarded lovers should be given a second chance, but with somebody else. That's from Mae West. Okay, so this quote, this clip, I promise it's so worth it. You got to go listen to the whole thing. It is on YouTube. Oh, and shout out, I already subscribed to your friends Ted's channel there.
Nice.
Let me share.
Yeah, we want to support each other, support the fellows.
Yeah, I feel like this is gonna be a fun interaction, like back and forth, especially ladies version, fellas version, viewpoints. So if you go onto their, let's see, that's the 29 digits 2911 podcast. Go out there, subscribe. They're doing pretty well, actually. Looks like they got about 30 subscribers. That was the clip we played before, but now we're gonna get into the meat. So if you go on to YouTube and it's under the channel Motivational Vibes, this video is called Value Yourself. So it's powerful motivational speech 2022. I'm just gonna play about 3 minutes. Here we go.
I'm sharing it right now on Facebook.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Oh, it's so nice having a co-host. Okay, here we go. Oops, hey, I gotta skip ahead. Definitely what that guy says is good. I want to get to the lady. She really points out. She gets right to the meat of it. So okay, so 113. I'm gonna skip right to her. Time is running out, so I don't want to waste it. Here we go. Okay.
That's absolutely crucial, and it is hard for people to learn that. Hard for them to learn not to beat themselves up too much.
Every relationship that you have in your life, or that you've ever had in your life, with every single person, is a reflection of the relationship that you are having with yourself. People come into our life, into our experience, to show us, to demonstrate, to reflect and mirror back to us the places and pieces and parts of ourselves that we cannot see, are unwilling to see, that we deny or dismiss or ignore. Every relationship in your life is a reflection of the relationship that you're having with yourself. Now, right now, if you're having some resistance to that, if you're thinking about your ex or your ex-mother-in-law or your girlfriend or somebody that betrayed you, and your mind is telling you that can't be true, that's not right, that's it. That's it right there. Because there are parts of us, there are things about us that we simply cannot see. Sometimes we don't want to see. Sometimes we see and then we ignore or deny. You see, each and every one of us has what we call a shadow part. That's the part of us that we hide and cover and covet. Those pieces and aspects and things about ourselves that we find unpleasant or unacceptable. We tuck them away in shadow. And someone will come into our life and reflect a light on that shadow. And that's when we see it. We see it in them. People come into our lives and they mirror back to us the pieces and parts of ourselves that we cannot, will not, do not want to see. And it's all a reflection of the relationship that we're having with ourselves. Do you love you? I mean, really love and accept you? Do you trust you? Do you trust your own thoughts and feelings? Do you honor you? Do you respect you? And where did you learn how to do that? Because so many of us have a disjointed or dysfunctional relationship with ourselves because of what we've seen and what we've been taught and what we've been told. And the relationship that we have with ourselves more often than not mirrors what we've been taught and what we've seen and what we've experienced. But in order to truly grow and evolve in our soul and our way of being, we want to develop a relationship with ourselves, a good, solid, loving, functional relationship with ourselves. So how do you do that, Miss Iyama? How do you develop a relationship with yourself? Well, it starts here. Who am I? Not what do I do? Who am I when the lights are off and I'm naked and I stand before the mirror? Who am I? This is a question You must answer. Not who were you taught to be, who were you told to be, who you think you should be. Who are you? And there's a very simple way to find out. Ask yourself, what are those things about you that come forward, those things that make you tick, those things that pump you up, those things that drag you down? Who am I? You've got to answer that question. And don't judge yourself if you don't know it. So very often we think if we're 30 or 40 or 50 years old, we need to know. But how many of us have really sat and asked the question? We know what we do. We know what is expected of us. We know what our obligations and responsibilities are. But who am I in the middle of the night when I wake up and there's nobody there? Who am I in a crowd of people where I feel uncomfortable? Answer that question. The next.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that beautiful? Okay.
Well, yeah,
Anything you wanna
I
say?
just yeah, it was very powerful for me. It's kind of my anthem right now. We need each other, right? In recovery, in life. And what are the rules in recovery, dating or sexing or whatever, any relationship that we're having. And who am I without AA? Am I instilling these principles and living by them? So many things to question. And it's the dark and the light. I really know for sure from experience I need to have that balance and to accept all of me and also try to grow and learn.
Okay, I gotta do I got a new sound effect, so we don't do the hot seat now. We're doing pro tips. Okay, so let's answer some questions, Ange. We're gonna keep it real simple. Stupid. I'm stupid sometimes. Pro tip. I've got 3 that I think I pulled from both of us that I think align, but also they're not. I'm gonna give some just how to do it. Okay, so pro tips number 1. And you have the book in front of you. It's read the love languages.
The 5 love languages for singles.
Okay, the 5 love languages. Ange, I gave you the one for singles. It's Gary Chapman. So what I love about this book, I read the very first one at a really bad time in my life, and I read it right into my divorce. And I kept wondering, I literally read it in 2 days. Why the heck did I not know these things? Maybe I could have saved blah, blah, blah. But it's great to read this book because I needed to understand what my love language is, and what that means is how I feel loved. How I feel loved. There's 5 different languages, and how you feel loved doesn't mean that's how somebody else feels loved. So then you can understand what the other languages are and how other people feel loved. Do you want to list off the 5 different love languages?
Yep. Number 1, words of affirmation. 2, gifts. 3, acts of service. 4, quality time. 5, physical touch, fellas.
And physical touch could be holding hands
yeah.
and rubbing backs. My teenagers, here's what is interesting is because I read the one for kids, and it's really hard. I love that book because it really helped me try to figure out what theirs is because they have no idea either. And they both, when they got older, were like, no kisses and hugs anymore, mom. Right? And so the book said, well, they might say that because of the stage that they're at in their life, but go ahead and just test it out. Try these things. So it turns out my oldest son, I just did the rub on his back. Hey, how you doing today? Or when he left, I still gave him a hug. And actually, he was doing so. He really liked that. That when he left the first time to his dad's, I gave him a kiss on the cheek, and he smiled, even though he said none of that. It was a lie. He didn't realize, and at that time, I wasn't sure either. His love language was physical touch. But so anyway, my point is, that's great. You could go online now, and actually, I had before taken old school, take the test. If you get the book, there's a test in the book, but you can go online now and find out exactly what your love language is. That's the first thing before you try to figure out your partners. And then also, you might have dual love languages, which is interesting. And your love language can change over time. So beautiful book. Pro tip number 1, read the 5 love languages. Okay?
I just want to piggyback on that. So
Please do.
Can you love yourself? That was the whole point of that clip, and figuring out what I need, and then really talking about it and realizing that we might not get those needs met. So what are we going to do about it?
Right. Well, and I think the key thing too that I pulled away from that clip is, do you even know who the fuck you are? Sorry, it makes me mad. I didn't even know who I really was, when it came down to it. Like, I spent my whole life taking care of other people, taking care of my friends, my kids, my husband, everybody else, my sister, my brother. I never took care of myself. So I didn't even know who I was or what I liked or what I don't like, or, like, it's taken me for almost 40 years to really know myself. It's crazy.
Work
Okay.
in progress.
Do you want to read? We got some more comments.
Yep. Ted's hearting it up over here. Jesse Magnetson. Been working out of town for the last month, and I realized while in my hotel room that for the first time in my life, I was okay being alone. Hey, it was something that I never was okay with before. Progress, not perfection.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I remember the first time that I really could sit with myself and not need to run to a meeting and not need to call anybody. And where I'm at today is I fucking love my me time. I mean, more or less, it's not very frequent. But when I get it, I'm just like literally just sit there and just like enjoy the quiet.
It comes down to balance. Like I say this all the time, I kind of annoy myself, but you can't just eat healthy for a day and you're good. You can't just work out for 30 minutes and you're good. It's a constant commitment. What's the word when you're doing something you need to do? Discipline. I would say sacrifice, but yeah, so many things, so many tools we have. I'm just really grateful for recovery and for all of my experiences.
Yes, and see, I hang out with you. I hang out with people that like I can have those walls down and learn and grow with you together. Like, I am an idiot sometimes, a lot of times. Okay, I do say stupid things, but I'm open with it. Where before I wouldn't tell anybody I didn't know, question it, and just leave it, not grow or learn. So now finding those people that don't judge me, and I could just put it out there, like, I don't know, like, here's what I learned. Oh, that's wrong. Okay, well, good. I'm glad you told me. But I don't feel defensive around those people, because in recovery, I feel like it's a whole other level of life people that I hang around with. Pro tip number 2, Ed, you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Next time I'll have these written out so you can read them along with me. I just embarrassed with my chicken scratch here. Pro tip number 2, make a list of qualities you want in a partner. But that goes on to, here's the best part. You make this list, okay? I made an amazing list, Ange, the first time. But the point is, because these are the things that I needed to become these qualities myself. Okay. So,
well, that's what we're doing in recovery. We're finding out who we are and how to navigate life with other people. And it's not all about taking and me. I mean, it is a different aspect of learning who I am. But yeah, I love that you're challenging yourself to apply those things to yourself.
Well, and my list now, thankfully, is much shorter and reasonable. But here's where I got that beautiful piece of pro tip information. So, Rosemary O'Connor, okay, she has this wonderful guide. Get this book. There's a chapter called Dating, a Cautionary Tale. Okay, so for a person in recovery, the do's and don'ts of dating are convoluted and complex. Dating for anyone today is like a minefield, okay? You may feel like your prize picker is totally broken after so many failed attempts, or maybe you had no relationships and just slept around looking for love in all the wrong places. You may be the person who never dated and had given up on finding love. It was suggested to refrain from dating for the first year in my sobriety, which I thought was absurd. I put down the drink and picked up the men, plural. The first one was 30 days sober, and I was 90 days sober. It was love at first sight. My dysfunction was attracted to his dysfunction. A perfect fit. Oh gosh.
13 step.
Well, and that I think more the 13 step also, it's kind of more okay if you're both newcomers, new to the game.
Step.
Yeah, but there's definitely, I would say that should be the 13th step is when it's newcomer. But there's the 14th step. I would say what really is the 13th step that's scary is when it's people that have been in recovery and they prey on And it goes both ways.
So we can turn it around and take some positive action.
Okay, so let me finish the reading here. I finally realized that this desperate search for love through multiple dysfunctional relationships was a pattern that signaled I had developed another addiction besides alcoholism, and I was getting sicker and sicker. One of my biggest fears had been that I'd drink if my heart got broken, but I hadn't even thought of drinking during any of these crises. I simply went on to the next unmanageable relationship, violating my standards faster than I could lower them. But with this one, I finally hit my bottom and I went to Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous to address my love addiction and thus began a new journey in recovery. So instead of taking a year off from dating, um, as my first AA sponsors had suggested, I decided to take time off to work the steps. Okay. So it said, like, I like how she, in her own mind frame, she said, I'm not going to just take it out from dating. I'm going to take time to just work on myself. It's, make it more of a positive, not like, here's what you need to do. Like, you shouldn't do this. Here's what you could do. So it says, after the time off, it was suggested that I make a list of qualities that I want in a partner. So I started a list of for my dream man, and my list included financially successful and responsible, honest and trustworthy, good looking, fun loving, good sense of humor, warm, generous, emotionally available. Okay, here's this list. Of course, I didn't believe it at the time that any of these things were actually possible because my self esteem was so low. I didn't think a man with these qualities would be interested in me. I showed the list to my sponsor, hoping she would give me her blessing. Instead, she told me, go ahead now, you just go ahead. She told me to become the person with all those qualities on my list, and then I would indeed attract the man that I wanted. See, I love this. So I have become the person I wanted to be, at least most of the time. And today I know that I deserve a partner with these qualities, and I am no longer willing to settle for anything less. I call those standards. And it worked for me. Okay, Edge, I really, after ding, at the end of the day, now my list, I do not only encompass those things, but I don't even at all at any point ever go out seeking somebody with these things. I feel like it's just going to happen when it happens. And I filled that hole in my heart in a sense, and when I do start to feel lonely or empty or whatever, guess what? I have really great friendships and relationships with other people that helps fill that. So I don't need sex really per
Well,
se.
we might need it. We got ourselves. But listen here, we were talking about Al-Anon and how we are working those steps, right? And we can work the steps in relationships, and we just need to stay true to ourselves. I think our values and morals are usually the same, but we're growing and changing all the time. So, I mean, just reevaluating, reassessing, checking in with yourself, and talking to those trusted individuals helps.
Right. Okay. I agree.
Third trip.
Okay, last point I want to make. So last pro tip though that I had was to get a trusted dating coach, which I already mentioned. Somebody that you can check in with, right? You whomever, but the point is you trust them, right? They're not someone that you feel bad vibes like, oh, they're jealous or they're living through you or they're so critical or judgmental. You know that it's somebody that will give you advice when you ask for it, but they're looking out for the best you, right? They're not thinking you should do things as they see acceptable. But I guess the main thing is, again, putting myself back, 17 years ago, any of this shit is way too complicated for me. I didn't want to hear it. And you don't know me. You don't get to tell me. So if you really want to start simple, that's why I love that clip, is asking yourself, do you love yourself? Well, guess what, Ange? I did not. I hated myself for a very long time. Okay. So how would you suggest, Ange? Would you suggest someone like me 17 years ago when I say, well, you gotta know yourself, you gotta love yourself. Well, what if I say I don't love myself? Okay. And how do you expect me to get to know myself? What are you talking about? What would you suggest?
Different strokes for different folks, for sure. You and I were talking about DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. So really, that's just giving you more awareness and tools to enhance your life, and it doesn't even have to be in crisis mode. We can prepare ahead of time. I'd say just writing it all down. We're doing a fearless and moral inventory through these steps. I mean, if you don't have recovery, there's gonna be something out there. You know, there probably is like dating coaches and sex coaches. I guess I can't speak from experience, but building a life worth living, that's a DBT skill. So what am I doing in my life that's building my confidence and building someone who I want to be, someone who I want to put out in the world, you know, even as a mom. Like that's super important for me, is to be able to be a role model, even though I feel like I live double lives sometimes. Anyway, so yeah. Keep it simple. All right. So get yourself out there, I guess, right? Like I'd say put yourself out there, but just be careful. Boundaries.
Yes. Well, I would say so. A boundary is now for me is a promise
Mm.
for myself, something that, I know that I can stick to, because that's the only thing you can do with a boundary is for yourself. And it's something that I can actually stick to. Oh, thanks, Sally. Um, but the key, I think, boundary to start with would really, I couldn't even set a boundary because I didn't even know what I valued. I didn't even value myself. So to really keep it simple is to back it up. And this is what DBT also taught me, is to step back, pause, and think about what I'm thinking. Because you have thoughts, thousands and thousands of thoughts every day. So if I have this thought, pause, wait, why am I thinking that? Especially if it's something that doesn't make me feel good or overly excited. Wait a minute, pause, okay? And why am I thinking that way? Why am I having those thoughts? Finding that out for me gave me that awareness to really understand me, if that makes any sense when I'm saying it out
It will
loud.
save us from so much heartache, from so much insanity. That's almost the key. I mean, there's so many keys to recovery, sobriety, whatever. But like, if we can sit down in those feelings and in those thoughts and just be like, it'll pass. And if you need to reach out, we don't have to pick up. We don't have to have sex. We don't have to make a bad choice. We get to be empowered and value ourselves.
And there's wonderful battery operated equipment that
Or
also
the
helps.
shower head.
There's other ways to get the physical stuffs going. Just go for a run in the cold. That helps too. But no, seriously though, like I do feel like back in the day, I didn't have friends. Okay. I didn't have people I trusted. I'd never had family. So yes, like I like your pro tip earlier is write it down. Okay. Write it down. And then when I did find a person, shout out again, Marcy, that I first could really start to open up my dark shadows too. It was a floodgate, and it was wonderful also to be able to look back at to where my head was at, that I had already written them down. But pen to paper is crucial because your brain, I'm into the science facts, okay? Your brain processes things differently. It has to when you write them down versus texting, calling, or whatever. When you're writing it down, it slows your brain down. And for me, it slows like my spirit, my soul. Like I can really sit with myself. And it's weird to say now, but that uncomfortableness, I'm like, ooh, I feel really whatever uncomfortable. Okay, why? And I want to sit down, and I do try to figure it out myself. But that's the best part of. Then step 2 is call that person. I like to meet with people in person, but getting in that safe space with that person, okay, and being able to be vulnerable and share that. Oh my God, I forgot about the beeps. Let's run through them really quick. Oh, we have to keep the beeps.
We can do it.
That's my favorite thing. Okay, yes, we still got 7 minutes. Here we go. Meep time. You ready? Ash, is there any final things you wanted to point out that I might have went over? Okay.
I love it.
Okay. And the beeps are very much still random, but I have to tell you, I think they aligned. The memes tend to align with my whole week. It just happens on accident. Okay, so we're gonna go right into
Educational and entertaining.
Oh, and I got the. God, I hate the free apps because they play the weird clip thing or the advertisements. Okay, let me in here. See what I mean? Oh gosh. Okay, let me get out of there. Face dance. That's funny. Skip video. Just let me get into my app. X. Okay, here we go. Oh, I turned it down. Wake up, everybody. It's meme time. Sometimes weird, sometimes mysterious, but it's meant to be funny. Okay, meme number 1. Ange, what do you see there?
A cup on a counter.
Coffee cup.
Coffee cup, white coffee cup. It says, of course, I talk to myself. Sometimes I need expert advice.
Do you love that? Ange, guess where that picture came from?
Oh,
That's my
yeah.
coffee cup on my counter. Somebody gave that to me, and it always makes me chuckle. And I forgot that I took a picture of it and sent it to somebody. I'm like, that's a perfect meme. Okay, next meme. Here we go. Ooh, this is a funny one. Okay, go ahead. Describe. We got a billboard. What does the billboard say?
When people bring up your past, tell them Jesus dropped the charges. Well, don't just judge me, but my past. I don't live there anymore.
Don't judge me by.
Oh, don't judge me by my past. And that's,
I don't live there anymore.
yeah.
What do you think of that one?
I think I need to remember that a lot. I judge myself the most harshly.
Yes.
Worst critic. I don't live there anymore, right? So I'm free. Free indeed. Jesus dropped the charges.
Well, and I like to just throw this one out there when really hypocritical people, especially in my past, try to bring up shit that happened however long ago. And I'm like, actually, I do it when I make humor of it, but it's really because I'm pissed off. And I'm like, by the way, Jesus dropped the charges. Okay. So how about let's move on?
Well, and the reason why they're bringing it up is because they're stuck. So have fun with that.
Exactly. They want to bring you back down, but guess what? I don't live there no more. Okay, next meme. Ooh, this one's beautiful. Can you get close up on that? Marisha sent me this one.
I see a lot of eyes, and it's
A sun?
yeah, well, there's a forest of one tree, and there's light and dark. And on the light side, there's the sun with a robed individual, and there's eyes in the center of their chest. On the other side is the dark with the moon and the eye in the center of the chest and a robe. Don't compare yourself to others. There's no comparison between the sun and the moon. They shine when it's their time. Yeah, so we're on different paths. I mean, I can relate that to myself. Like, don't judge myself. Don't compare myself. Because I'm learning and growing, and I want to learn about the dark as well as the light. I think we need it. We need the struggle and the pain. I don't want to seek it necessarily. I need to be careful. I need to be called out on my shit, my self-destructive behaviors. So, yeah,
It's a balance.
yeah, it is a balance.
Yes, and the sun and the moon, they're both beautiful lights, and they shine at their time.
The tree's got to have a purpose too. The tree has an eye, so I mean that's like maybe the tree of knowledge, some center.
Well, I think are you familiar with the third eye?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And so opening that third eye, right? There's 3D living people and 5D living people. And one of the things I also like about this is it reminds me of like the Buddhism, the Buddhists, there is no good or bad. It just is,
I
right?
listened to that segment. It was awesome.
Yeah.
What was that Taoism?
And yep, Taoism also aligns with that. But there's some key differences of why okay, anyway. Next meme. Just words.
Hey, it's me. Some people call me crazy. Some people call me for advice. It's totally true.
Right? Right? Lots of people call me cray. But then they, those people are out there, whatever. But then I got lots of people that call me for advice. Yeah. Yes, so it's a beautiful balance.
Hey, it takes one to know one.
Yeah. Okay, words again.
Her soul was too deep to explore by those who always swam in the shallow. And
You love it?
I know I swim in the shallow end sometimes, but yeah, our souls.
You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Our souls need to be explored, and we can let those people in or not.
Ooh, you just maybe take this to another level. So I love that. I can't be in the deep side of the pool for like long amounts of time, right? I have to go back to the shallow end, right? To catch my breath, to like rest. There's a lot of exercise. However, but I could go to the side where it's the positive people, right? So they might not be as deep and had a lot of pain and misery like normies per se, or not so much, but whatever. Just people that are light and free and fun, and we don't have to talk about deep things. But I definitely got that deep level. It's it's nice when you got someone else out there with you. You can float together.
And what I'm learning about tonight on this show is that we can learn how to swim by ourselves and not depend on a floaty or so on and so forth.
Do you know a form of meditation is the bathtub? Like a real legit bathtub. Why? Because your body floats and then you're aware of your breathing, right? You can breathe in and out, and that's why I like bubble baths. Because I meditated there, just fall asleep. Yes. Oh, here's a fun one. Okay, so like a girl floating floating in galaxy. What does it say?
And she's naked and beautiful. I would just like to publicly announce that I have no idea what I'm doing. Don't we
Thank you.
all? We're just taking
Just-
it as it comes,
yeah.
going with the flow.
Yes. Let's go. That's. I had this as my story for a long time. I just want to publicly state that I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. That's the point, right?
Well, and we're learning. Yeah, exactly. We're not going to go anywhere, do anything, and learn until we actually put ourselves out there.
Yes, I'm stupid sometimes. I'm okay with that though. Here we go. Go ahead, just read words.
The only reason I believe in love is because of the way. Yes, it's because of the way I love. I'm going to read it again. The only reason I believe in love is because of the way I love. That's the only thing we have, our perception.
Yes.
I know love is real because I exist and I'm full of it. I hope I
It had to be funny.
I hope I have sex again someday.
Ding. Yes, wasn't that real deep, those first two? And then I was like, I read, I hope I have sex again someday. Yeah, bringing it back.
We're only 1 minute over. Hey.
One more. Oh, yes, last one.
Ooh, who's that guy?
Ooh, he's hot.
Yummy.
He's from
You know you have a big heart when you feel bad for doing what is best for you.
That's why those boundaries are hard.
Yeah.
I actually had other ones, but so I have to remind everybody is no, November. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up the meme on my phone because I didn't get a chance to upload it, but shout out to Sarah. We are really practicing, especially in our women's group, and I think everybody should, men's group too. But no is a complete sentence. November. It's all about setting boundaries, and it's okay. And this is the month to practice it. Okay, and this is the month to practice doing that and doing it with people and your friends or whatever to practice saying no, because people please, especially, yeah, I'm a retired people pleaser.
Ooh.
That's what I try to say. That's what I tell myself, right? Okay, so this is one that she shared. I did not get a chance to share it. It says, I don't say no because I'm so busy. I say no because I don't want to be so busy. Isn't that beautiful?
It's empowering to say no. And it's not even no. Well, it doesn't matter how they take it. I mean, they can take it personally, but it's like you're taking care of yourself.
And you don't have to explain it to yourself, but that's my problem, It's like, or explain it to them. And so practicing it, is key. And the more I've done that, the more I'm way okay with it, And Brene Brown gave a perfect tip. So in your head, say no, and in your head, just, okay, this is awkward. This is awkward. This is awkward. Because you see their disappointment or their anger, whatever their face, and then walk away with it, right? Because then there's no expectations. But I've been telling people that are completely new to this concept, go ahead and just, say what I say no. Or you can say you accidentally kind of say, well, maybe I could do that. You couldn't just make yourself say no, but don't say yes. Just say, oh, hang on, I'll have to check my schedule. Let me get back to you. That could be your nice version of no, right?
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking of the other side of the coin. So if somebody tells me no, how do I feel? And I don't really like being told no. And I can sit with that. It is empowering on the other side too. And I'll reply in a text, okie dokie, even though I'll be like, well, fuck you. But yeah, so definitely it's a work in progress. And I just love sobriety, recovery, learning about life and who I am. And I love you, Bridge.
I love you. Yes. And that's another thing we'll get into is like, there are so many different ways to love. And Pam, shout out Thrive. Okay. Thrive is my go-to. Like I did Al-Anon. I couldn't vibe with that so much. I really love Thrive, familyresources.org. But what she says that I still need to explore now, she said, everyone associates love as a feeling, right? Love is a feeling, right? But they more explore, and I got to go back into this. I got to study this myself. But look at love as a behavior. And so for the families and anyone actually, I think can learn from this is you might say you love someone and you feel like you love someone, but are you showing that in your behaviors, right? That's where a lot of people try to support us get tripped up. Or I was getting tripped up. Like, I know in my heart of hearts, I love my daughter, right? But when she's upset and she's slamming doors and she's being inappropriate, I'm not showing that unconditional love. I'm showing her that my love comes with conditions. and she's tested the shit out of me, let me tell you. But I know that that's where
Boundaries.
yes.
And
And
you're really
so-
just you're learning yourself, and talk about it after.
Mhm.
Maybe give it some time and just go back and, like, even if I have a huge feeling, that feeling is going to pass. Even if I think I love that person in a different way where I need something else from them, it's like, just talk about it. And you might sound crazy, and maybe that's why they run for the hills, because you're being honest or whatever. But it's like, are you in this to discover, or are you just going to retreat? So let's just learn together, people.
Yes, and discover yourself. Okay, and guess what? We have a code word, Ange. Me and my
Code
daughter.
word?
We had to make our own code word, ice cream, which means
Yes.
any other one. It worked on her the other night because I was like, ice cream, ice cream. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, remember, we're both heated right now. Let's go take a little break and we'll come back. And it worked because like she actually walked away.
Make it fun.
Yes. And we came back when we were cooled down and we talked about it. And I really started with, honey, okay, this is why I'm saying I'm hurt. This hurts me. Just start with it hurts. Like I come off as like, I don't know. I can see her in her face. She sees anger maybe, and she sees frustration, but it's really because I'm hurting. I'm scared for her, my baby, growing up so fast. But as soon as I put my guard down and show that vulnerability, and I say I'm hurting, and now she recently seen me cry in a session. It was beautiful. Like she could see that vulnerability gives strength in our relationship. So
Yes. Yep. That
okay,
applies to all of them. Yep. 100%.
okay, Edge. I think that was a pretty good first episode.
Awesome.
There's so much more coming. You saw the comic. You saw like I got coming. I'm excited about this. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining. Definitely this is new monthly special editions. What risky relationships do you want to question? Do you want some pro tips on? Do you have pro tips? Go ahead and share them with us. But there's so many risky relationships. I can't wait to talk about. So we started with boy and girl, or it could be girl girl and boy boy. But that one where you're seeking that companionship and all the wrong maybe reasons. Okay. Have a good rest of your week.
Bye.
Bye. And I like to play that music, the inspirational music, until I get copyrights on some other stuff. I'm just gonna keep going with this. Oh, shout out to Ganymede. If you listen to that music in the beginning, that was his song. It's called Recreational. It's fantastic. I'm gonna share that. So everybody go get it. He's on Bandcamp. Bandcamp's the best because most of the artists get most of the money. It's a great way if you're an artist musically sharing. Go on Bandcamp. All right. Bye bye and returning home.